It's an average night. You've had a long day, you're tired, you're excited to go to bed. Your body needs rest and needs it badly. You brush your teeth, put your pajamas on, turn off the light, and get all snuggled up. You lay there for a second, just thinking. You think about how you used to sleep next to your boyfriend, but he went home for the semester, so you're back to a long-distance relationship. You think about how you're kind of thirsty, but not thirsty enough to get out of bed and get some water, but you're getting even more thirsty just thinking about it. You think about how you might actually not be tired after all. With all these thoughts going through your head, you just can't seem to get comfortable. Then you remember, there's a soft, heavy blanket at the foot of the bed. You put that on, and all of a sudden, your problems magically seem to be solved. You feel calm, serene, ready for a restful night of sleep and relaxation.
So if you have any kind of issue related to sleep, such as insomnia, anxiety, stress, pain, anything like that, a weighted blanket might be something to really consider. This has been proven to reduce anxiety for people. It releases a chemical called oxytocin, which is the same chemical that's generated when you receive a hug from somebody. So it artificially stimulates that part of the brain and releases that chemical and gives you the same exact feeling that you would get from getting a hug. It also is therapeutic in the sense that it can help with depression a lot. It acts similarly to acupressure, if you've ever heard of that, which targets certain pressure points in your body, and that pressure can actually help produce more chemicals to the brain, like it did with anxiety and the same chemical that gives you that hug stimulation. It can do similar things and release more endorphins and melatonin in your body with that kind of like pressure on certain points of your body. Similarly to that, it can also help with chronic pain. So it does the same thing in giving you a natural pain relief when you have certain pressure points kind of activated in your body. It can activate those and give you sort of a natural sense of pain relief, and it presses down on muscles that might be suffering from chronic pain or issues like that, or joint pain, anything, in a way that pressure can really help. And I personally discovered this sort of in an unfortunate way, but I have a boyfriend that while he's in school, we basically live together, so every night we sleep next to each other. And having him go back home for the end of the semester, it is scientifically proven that it is when you are used to sleeping next to somebody and you go to not sleeping with them anymore, it can generate some kind of separation anxiety and loneliness, and it makes it a lot more difficult to sleep. So I discovered that weighted blankets actually really help with that. It kind of simulates that same like feeling of comfort that you're used to when you have somebody else there next to you. It kind of like artificially stimulates that part of your brain, which actually has helped me sleep a lot better, and I've read that it has helped a lot of other people facing the same sort of issue. And it can even help in some instances of autism and like the related sleeping problems with autism. It kind of, it gives that sense of security that an autistic person might be lacking a little bit, and it has been proven to help a lot of the sleeping issues, especially related to like long sleeping periods opposed to broken up shorter sleeping patterns. It has helped regulate a lot of sleeping patterns for autistic patients and has helped a lot in that category. A lot of people have a lot of hesitance to weighted blankets as well. They feel a lot of hesitation because they are very weighted and heavy, and a lot of people can feel suffocated by this. My mom personally, she got a weighted blanket and just could not sleep with it because it was too heavy and made her feel like she was being suffocated. So that was a big issue for her and she just couldn't do it. There was actually a trend going around where people threw their weighted blankets on them and it knocked them over and they couldn't stand up once it landed on them, which is kind of funny. But I think that also helped deter a lot of people from the thought of a weighted blanket because they see it as this huge heavy thing and it's like, why would you want to have that on you as you sleep? Another issue is that they're very expensive. When it comes down to it, they can come up to $150 if you are going for one that's going to hold up, which is a lot of money to spend on a blanket, just one blanket. They also, since they're so heavy and densely made, they're very warm, which is an issue for a lot of people. Like, I know that I cannot sleep when I'm too warm, and it really generates a lot of heat, so it's difficult. And that it deters a lot of people, especially in the warmer months of the year, from using it. And a lot of medical conditions, doctors don't recommend that you sleep with one, such as sleep apnea, diabetes, or just any kind of general breathing condition, because they are so heavy that compression could be damaging to people with pre-existing medical conditions. So kind of a genius solution that my mom came up with to pretty much every single one of these issues is to just get a kid-size one. So doctors have determined that if you are going to go for the full treatment, you are going to go all in for a weighted blanket, it should be about 5% of your body weight in the weight that you're purchasing. So you can buy one based on weight. So a kid's one is not going to do that, but it also avoids a lot of the issues that were previously mentioned that people have with them. So they aren't going to be as heavy if you get a kid's one. I have one that's about 5 pounds, so like it's not heavy at all, but it still gives you that weighted feeling, but it's not on your entire body. So you can choose what part of your body you want it on. So that can be your feet, your legs, your chest, anything like that. It allows for a lot more flexibility in the way that you use it. It also reduces how warm it's going to be because it is just a certain part of your body. It's not all over your entire body, and it really reduces those suffocating feelings because it's not, again, on the entirety of your body. It's just not a specific part, and it's a lot lighter and it's easier to kind of throw off you when you're going to sleep, or if you're in the middle of your sleep and you just don't want it anymore. So it reduces that suffocating feeling of not being able to get it off of you and just being pressed down and unable to move. They're also, since they're smaller and lighter weight, they're also less expensive, which is good, especially if you aren't sure if you're gonna like it or not and you want to try it. A kid size option might be better because they are less expensive and it's less of a commitment in that way. And in a solution to the medical conditions that have been preconceived, it might be beneficial to have a kid-sized one. For example, if you have breathing conditions, the issue would be with your chest area. So to have one lower than your chest would be fine, I'm sure, as well as sleep apnea, because that exists largely in your chest and in your respiratory system. So with your legs, it wouldn't be as much of an issue. With diabetes, it is probably a lot better to just not risk sleeping with it because that is a very complex issue, and any kind of pressure on you that's too much can really be harmful with the condition of diabetes. But another solution is that you don't necessarily have to be sleeping with it. It doesn't have to be something that you use when you're just sleeping. If you're struggling with depression or anxiety and things like that, and you don't have anybody around to really give you hugs or that physical affection that would release the chemicals in your brain that you need, and you don't have enough money for acupressure treatments or anything like that, having a weighted blanket to just sit with for a minute might actually help a lot in that department of things. So it doesn't necessarily require sleep to be effective. You could sit there with it on for 5 minutes, and a lot of the issues that come about with these medical conditions is when you're in a state of sleep where you can't control the pressure that it's putting on you and it is out of your control. So if you're awake during it and you're using it, you can control the second that you start to feel your body rejecting it and not being comfortable with it. So if you have a breathing issue, you can feel when that breathing starts to become more labored and you can take it off. Same thing with diabetes and same thing with sleep apnea. These issues really become worse when you're asleep with it on you, where you can't control the weight because you are in a state of sleep. So not having it on when you're asleep, but just having kind of using it as a therapy treatment a couple minutes per day could really be beneficial too, because it's not solely meant for sleep. So to wrap this up, think back to the times that you've had trouble sleeping for whatever reason, and think back to all the times that you've really just felt like you need a hug or you need that kind of comforting pressure to help you get out of a mindset that makes you feel lonely or anxious or sad or anything, and you didn't have anybody there, and you didn't have the options to have that kind of therapeutic treatment. And imagine having a weighted blanket instead and being able to put that on you and feel instantly better. A weighted blanket can really be beneficial to everybody, and even if you decide not to, if you decide it's not for you, it should definitely be considered. If you have issues like claustrophobia or just you are afraid of it feeling suffocating to you, I would strongly suggest using a kid-size one first, because I have issues with that sort of thing. Like, I really don't like feeling kind of that trapped feeling where you can't move or anything, and having a kid-size one is just the perfect size, the perfect weight, everything. It doesn't make me feel like that at all. And the next time you're in the market for a new blanket, I would highly recommend it. It is a cost, but the cost of every other blanket, if you're going to buy a full comforter set, it's well over $100. So if you're in the market for a new good blanket that's going to last you a long time, I would highly recommend a weighted blanket.